This is how I know that I'm in the twilight zone, because we have a generation of men today where they get mad at women for being independent and they don't create the space for a man to feel needed. Yet those same men also get mad at women for not entertaining the whole 50-50 narrative. Like, do you understand how insidious and how diabolical that is? That's like telling a woman, fellas, how dare you be independent and you don't allow me to take care of you halfway. Like, that is that makes my head hurt. That makes my head hurt, dog, because the fact that I have 2 daughters and a son with my wife, and the fact that my daughters are growing up in this generation of men that think this way is nasty work, bruh. It is a new level of diabolical behavior and the thought process that I never thought I would see. Jesus need to come down right now on a chariot. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but man, I'm thinking about my daughters when I don't know, dude. It's not really the 50-50 thing. It's really more so a mindset that y'all really don't understand that you're exposing these women to. You're basically telling her, this is where I'm going to be. I'm going to stay right here, low vibration, and I want you to join me. I'm not going to try to increase my money, my bank account. I'm not going to try to increase my effort. I'm not going to try to increase the quality of life. I want you to be right here with me halfway. That's what you're telling women. Golly, I'm in the twilight zone. Ungodly sassiness at its finest. Stop it.
I sound crazy to a person like you because I can afford to pay all my bills of my family, as wife, children, etc., and you can't. That's why I sound crazy, because I make sure to apply myself, like in my 20s, and build myself up, and in my 30s, and all of that, and I made sure to live within my means, so I could provide for a family. You understand what I'm saying? And you the type of dude who want a woman to come home and submit to you. And that's why you would never get submission from a woman. Even if you got a passport and went overseas and got your woman overseas, and your money go a lot further, that woman wants you to pay all the bills. Because what you don't understand, even you talk about getting a passport, those women want you to pay all the bills too. They don't want to have to go out there and work. Actually, those women want to stay home more than the women in America. For a guy like you, yeah, you need a modern woman. You can't have nothing traditional.
Pay half the rent then? Should a woman pay half the rent? So all right, I'm going to give you, again, my position, and I'm going to tell you what I think, how it applies to other people. For me, I'm not asking for the woman to pay half the rent. Personally, my vision is, to create a lifestyle where whoever I'm with doesn't have the pressure of paying half the rent, half the bills. I want her to find the career, her purpose that really speaks to her heart. I don't want her to be at some job that she's stressed about, that she doesn't even like, that, just completely isn't who she is, because that's going to affect the relationship. That's going to throw things off the balance of energy in our interaction with each other and in her quality of life. I don't want that for my partner. So in that instance, I'm prepared to take on the burden of paying all the rent, all that kind of stuff. I'm cool with that. It's not a problem for me. But for men out there, I do think it's good for men to build up a foundation where they have that kind of flexibility. But I do understand that everybody's not in that position, and some people will not be in that position. And depending on the type of lifestyle you're trying to live with that individual, it may require 2 incomes. So again, this is a conversation you have to have with that person, and you guys have to be on the same page about it. And I think at the end of the day, it's not about 2 people equally paying for bills. It's about 2 people equally contributing to a relationship. And contributing does not mean I pay 50%, you pay 50%. It might mean I handle certain tasks and I may handle certain finances, and you may handle the other tasks that need to be done in our relationship. And we create balance. To me, what's more important than the focus of equality in the relationship is the focus of balance in the relationship. And when you can find that balance, you can create more harmony, and that's going to work for both parties involved. So everyone has to sit down and talk to each other and just get on the same page about how do we go about finances and things being done, and be honest about what you're willing to do and what you're willing to accept in that relationship.
And the amount of men that want to be goddamn treated like princes nowadays is mind blowing. Y'all got to get y'all shit together, man. Y'all act more like women than the women nowadays. And that's a problem. For sure, for sure. Free game.
Listen, I'm not asking no woman to pay half the bills. I'm not asking no woman to carry the financial burden. Hell, I don't even care for the woman to contribute financially. That's me. That's how I'm living my life. But I get it. That's not so simple for everybody. And this discussion needs a more in-depth approach to really break this down. Because though I know this may not be everyone's cup of tea, I do believe it's something that we need to consider if we're trying to have more successful, well-balanced relationships. So here's the deal. I recorded a podcast last year and the year before that. So for the last 2 years, never released the episode. So this is going to kick off my series of the Lost podcast episodes, or whatever you want to call it. So we're going to switch to a clip starting from when I recorded the episode, Why I Don't Want My Woman to Have to Work. Be sure to watch it, but at the very end, I got an extra special, additional bonus message I got to give you. So let's get to it. So a couple years ago, I did a video on should men split the bills 50-50. And in the video, I explained that I don't want my wife, my partner, to have to work. I don't want her to have the burden of paying the bills, all right? I want her to be free to do what she pleases as far as her purpose and career is concerned. I want her to be free from that stress. And so naturally, you would expect many women love the video, and a lot of men were salty about the video. A lot of men were calling me all kinds of names, simp, sucker, all this stuff. You're getting used by women. These women are no good, blah, blah, blah. So first, I really want to speak to these men. And initially, I was going to go off and really give a piece of my mind, because to me it was disgusting, really disgusting to see men paint being a provider as being a sucker, as somehow the man who can take care of his household and do for a woman is the weaker vessel, is the beta male, whereas to insinuate that the man who does not take care of his partner, his family, whatever, is the alpha. That to me is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know where this new perception came from. I don't agree with it whatsoever. I feel and have always felt that an alpha, a true leader of the household, has no problem providing for it, all right? But I want y'all to understand that there is a purpose behind this. All right. When I say I don't want my woman to work, it's not just to appease women. It's not because it sounds good. It's because I have studied this dynamic for years now. And I see without a doubt in my mind that the most beneficial, and I'm not saying it's the only way it works, but the most beneficial structure is the man providing for the household. And here is why. As I said in the video, I do not want my woman having the stress of having to pay the bills. There's a great book. I believe the author's name is David Deida, and his book is called The Way of the Superior Man. And there's a part in the book where he speaks on you shouldn't look for your woman to be everything. The more you expect her to do everything, the less you get of anything. All right. So again, let me repeat that. The more you expect her to do everything, the less you get of anything. Essentially, by expecting this woman to be provider, lover, taking care of the house, all these different roles, you're diminishing her ability to walk in her feminine energy, and I'm big on feminine and masculine energy, and pour into you the way that you truly desire. And so you see a lot of these households where the woman is working, being the caretaker, doing all these different things, and guess what's lacking? They're barely having sex. They're barely loving on each other. Now, some of you may say, well, I know somebody who does all those things and they're fine. Yes, there are some cases, but typically it doesn't last. It can happen initially for a while, but how long can she keep this up being stretched out so thin? So you have to ask yourself as a man, what kind of life do I want? What kind of life am I trying to set myself up for? And is it more of a priority to have your woman working or having the stress of having to work versus giving her the flexibility of work? So let me explain those two different things. Because again, I am not saying in any way that the person that I would be with cannot work. I'm saying I don't want her to have the pressure of having to work. Because when you have to work, that puts or creates a dynamic where even if you hate the job, even if it's not your calling in life, you do it because it pays the bills. All right. And there are so many people, men and women, to be fair, walking around unhappy, unfulfilled, feeling empty because they hate their job. All right. And they do not connect with the work that they're doing. And so now these people take the negative energy they have from resentment, from sadness, from emptiness, from this BS job, and they take it and bring it to the household. All right. Now, that's having to work, having to have the pressure of work. That's what can happen. When you are giving her the flexibility of work, now this means, okay, yes, she can go work. She can pursue her passion. She can do all these things. But if that job pisses you off and is creating too much negative stress in your life, she has the freedom to quit it because you already got everything covered. If you guys have a baby and you need her to stay home and stick with the kids and raise the kids, and we're going to get into that soon about the side of raising children and how beneficial it is to have this flexibility. If she doesn't have to work, she can stay home for as long as necessary to make sure the kids have what they need. So that flexibility, as well as if you just need her home more, for you, for the house, whatever the case may be, you will have that flexibility because you have set yourself up to be able to provide in a way that does not rely on her income. Now, I can already hear some of you saying, but you can't do that where I live. Most households need 2 incomes. Again, what kind of life do you want to live? The reality is this. I am not going to say that some of you are not in a position where 2 incomes is not needed. I will say that some of you are in that position, not because it is a hardcore fact that you need 2 incomes, but because of the lifestyle you either want to live or the circumstances that unfortunately you are now dealing with. Meaning, if yes, you live in the next city, let's just say LA, where houses are super expensive, and your job alone does not make enough to provide even a small home for yourself, then of course, naturally, you're going to need a woman who then brings in her income so you can have that. But you do have the choice in life to make decisions that allow you to have a structure where your 1 income can be enough before you try to be in a serious relationship with a woman. It can just be about where you move. There are cities out there that you can find a home, all right, and get a job where you would not need, and I stress the word need, a second income to maintain that lifestyle. But if you want the big house, the fancy car, not that there's anything wrong with that, all right? But if you want that, yes, then and you don't make enough by yourself, then that becomes the sacrifice. So now it becomes a question of what's more important to you, having those material things or having the flexibility. Now, again, I repeat, there are some circumstances that will undoubtedly require 2 incomes. But there are a lot of people, if they simply made some adjustments in their lifestyle, who did not try to live above their means, who managed their money better, could actually be okay off of 1 income. And again, even if you wanted to bring in a second income, it would be a flexibility or a position where you would not have to, but you could if you wanted to. And so you got to again ask yourself, what kind of life do you want to live? And what are you going to require from your partner? Because you can't expect someone, and in this case, a woman, to be able to give 100% in all those aspects before she eventually is worn out. She is going to be tired, and her ability again to maintain the feminine energy that you may desire from her is going to be heavily compromised. So this is why I say with all confidence, I do not want my partner to have the burden of having to work, okay? Because I value the energy in the household more than I value the material things we can possess with her second income. Now, granted, to be fully transparent, I'm at a level of success where, yes, I already have more flexibility because of the position I'm in. But I also believe that more men could achieve this if we took a better approach in life.
And so I'm seeing that the men who can provide 100% for their wives and for their families, they don't have a problem with doing it. But it's the men who can't provide 100%. Those are the ones who have a problem with it. Rightfully so. So, I mean, ladies, if you have a man that can provide for you 100% and, take on all the bills and pay him or whatever, and it don't affect him and he can handle it, he can stand on business and it's not causing him no extra stress, or he's willing to make that sacrifice to pay for everything, hey, more power to you. I ain't hating on you. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that a man is any less of a man if he can't provide 100%. You know what I'm saying? So I like I always say, I think that couples should do what works for them. Salute to the men that can hold it down 100%, and the women don't have to pay nothing. You know what I'm saying? Salute to them. Shout out to them. Like, I ain't hating. For the men who can't, I feel like, hey, if you need your woman or a second income or a second household income to help you, and y'all do the 50-50 or whatever, I think that, hey, I don't feel like you less of a man, and I feel like y'all should do what works for y'all. Because at the end of the day, we not the ones helping y'all pay y'all bills. You know what I'm saying? I could only hope for a man like Stefan and like Tony, because every day, I ain't gonna lie to you, I be wanting to quit my job every day. And I can only hope for a man with the mindset that, Stefan and Tony have. Like, I want a man like that. I ain't gonna lie to you. And it's not so that I can just sit at home all day and be lazy and be pretty and sit back and do nothing. No, I'm just tired of working for these modern day plantations and corporations. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just sick of it. I'm just over it. I don't want to do it no more. I want to be a full-time entrepreneur. I want to start my own business and have multiple streams of income. So even if I do, and I'm hoping and praying God do bless me with a stand-up man who can hold down the fort, hey, if he willing to help me, start up a business that I can have a lucrative income and I won't have to depend on him 100%, you know what I'm saying? And I can still contribute in the household, because I'm not saying I don't want to work. What I'm saying is I don't want to work for nobody. I'm saying I want to be my own boss. That's what I want to do. And I want to have multiple streams of income so that I don't have to go enslave for modern day plantation. That's all I'm saying. I ain't saying I don't want to work. I'm just saying I want to be a full-time entrepreneur. So I'm waiting on the Heavenly Father to bless me with somebody that don't mind holding down the fort, and somebody that, hey, we can be business partners and all of that. We can have multiple streams of income and have our own businesses. That's what I'm believing in God for. So I'm walking by faith, but shout out to the men that don't mind, that can hold it down 100%. Y'all are rare. Y'all are rare. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. They are rare. I don't know where they at, but I'm walking by faith and walking by sight. So, yeah. But anywho, I just thought I'd share my little 2 cents on that,